Chosen one. Something has already shifted in your life, and you were not meant to miss this moment. This is not a random video, not something you simply clicked by chance. This is a divine interruption, a sacred appointment arranged before you were even aware you needed it. Heaven has been moving quietly around you, aligning, timing, positioning, and unseen forces, and now you are standing at the threshold of it. Anointed One, your billionaire era has not arrived with noise or announcement. It has begun in silence, in the hidden places, in the parts of your life no one else could see. Ecclesiastes chapter 3 verse 1 reminds us that to everything there is a season, and your season has just shifted. What you have been feeling lately, that inner pressure, that restlessness, that strange awareness rising within you, that is not confusion, that is activation. That is your spirit recognizing what your eyes have not yet fully seen. This wealth is not about numbers. It is about assignment, influence, capacity. Heaven does not release abundance into unprepared vessels, and everything you endured was preparation for what is now unfolding. So, if this is finding you at the exact moment you needed it, make sure you are subscribed and stay connected, because what is about to be revealed next will confirm everything your spirit has already begun to sense. Chosen One. What you have lived through was never random pressure. It was construction. There are people who experience hardship and break under it, and then there are those who are rebuilt through it. You are the second kind, and that is why your life has never felt ordinary. You have asked yourself before, why did it have to be this intense? Why did it take so long? But what you were calling delay, heaven was calling reinforcement. Anointed One. Your life has been a hidden construction site, not visible to the world, not celebrated, not understood, but layer by layer, something was being built inside you that could not collapse under the weight of what is coming. The isolation you endured, the seasons where no one could see you, the moments where you questioned everything, those were not empty years. Those were the years where your internal structure was being formed. Because understand this clearly, wealth at the level you are being called into is not given to fragile vessels. It is entrusted to those who can carry it without losing themselves. There were nights you had to sit alone with your thoughts when everyone else had distractions. There were moments where your heart broke, and instead of hardening into bitterness, something in you chose endurance. You learned how to breathe through chaos. You learned how to think long-term when nothing around you made sense. You learned how to stand when there was no external validation holding you up. And that is not common. Most people are trained by comfort. You were trained by pressure. And pressure does something sacred when it is not wasted. It expands capacity. There is a reason you cannot think like the people around you anymore. There's a reason shallow conversations feel draining. There's a reason you have started pulling away from environments that once felt normal. It is not arrogance. It is not disconnection. It is alignment. You have outgrown what cannot hold where you are going. Unchosen One. You were not built to chase money the way the world does. You were never wired to seek validation through material gain. That is why the traditional path never satisfied you. Deep down, even when you could not explain it, you were searching for something greater: influence, impact, authority over your own direction. That is not ambition. That is assignment. And now something has shifted. You can feel it. Not in a loud way, but in a quiet certainty, a knowing that something is no longer coming, it is here. The internal resistance that once slowed you down is weakening. The doubt that once questioned your worth is losing its voice. You are beginning to trust yourself in a way you never did before. That is the sign. Because the moment your internal structure stabilizes, external reality begins to reorganize. Proverbs chapter 23 verse 7 says, "As a man thinks in his heart, so is he, not as he wishes, not as he hopes, as he is." And something inside you has already become different. You are no longer operating from survival. That version of you, the one who reacted out of fear, who tolerated what drained you, who stayed in places that minimized you, that version has expired. And that is why certain relationships feel incompatible now. That is why certain environments feel heavy. Your nervous system is no longer calibrated for smallness. And this is where many people fail. Because when expansion begins, it doesn't feel comfortable. It feels unfamiliar. It feels like losing things before gaining anything visible. It feels like stepping into silence before stepping into abundance. But what you are experiencing is not loss. It is recalibration. Your body is learning that it is safe to hold more. Your mind is learning that it is capable of thinking beyond limitation. Your spirit is aligning with a frequency that cannot coexist with distraction, fragmentation, or constant noise. That is why focus is not optional for you now. It is required, not forced, but sacred. You are being called to protect your attention like it is territory. To stop giving your energy to things that do not build your future. To withdraw from what scatters your mind and weakens your clarity. Because wealth at your level does not begin with money, it begins with coherence. When your thoughts, your breath, your emotions and your decisions all move in the same direction, something powerful happens. Doors begin to open without force. Ideas begin to arrive without struggle. Opportunities begin to align without you chasing them. And you will notice something subtle. They will not look dramatic. They will look precise. A conversation that feels different. A connection that seems ordinary but carries weight. A moment that appears small but shifts everything. This is how your era unfolds. Quietly, strategically, irreversibly. And if you pay attention, you will recognize them instantly, because your perception has been trained in places others avoided. You have learned to see patterns where others see coincidence. That is not intuition as emotion. That is perception as calibration. And this is why you cannot go back. Even if you tried, it would feel unnatural. The old version of you would feel like a restriction, like a tight space you no longer fit inside. Because once your mind expands into sovereignty, dependence becomes suffocating. And here is the truth most people will never understand. You are not becoming wealthy. You are revealing what has already been built inside you. The infrastructure is already there. The question now is, can you stabilize it long enough for it to manifest? Because expansion without discipline collapses. And you were not brought this far to collapse at the threshold. Something is already in motion. But what comes next will require a different level of focus than anything you have ever lived through before. There is something you must understand now, and if you miss this, you will misinterpret everything that is happening around you. This next phase will not feel like what you expected. You thought elevation would look obvious, dramatic, undeniable. You thought it would arrive with clear signs, instant results, visible proof. But what is unfolding in your life right now is far more precise than that. It is quieter. It is strategic. It is intentional in a way that most people would overlook. Chosen. 1. Your life is no longer being guided by reaction. It is being guided by alignment. That is why certain doors are not opening the way you imagined. That is why some opportunities seem delayed, while others appear suddenly without effort. You are not being tested for worth. You are being positioned for accuracy. And accuracy requires discipline. There is a difference between being busy and being aligned. Many people stay busy their entire lives and never step into what they were actually called to build. They chase movement, not direction. But you are being trained differently. Your energy is being redirected toward what matters, not what distracts. You may have noticed it already. Your tolerance for noise has decreased. The things that once entertained you now feel empty. Conversations that used to feel normal now feel draining. You are not losing interest in life. You are losing interest in what does not serve your assignment. That is clarity. And clarity comes with separation. There are moments where you will feel alone in this phase, not because you are being abandoned, but because you are being refined. When a vessel is being prepared for something greater, it cannot remain in environments that dilute its capacity. Isaiah chapter 48 verse 10 speaks of refinement in the furnace, not for destruction, but for strengthening. That is what your life has been. Not punishment, not delay, refinement. And refinement always removes what cannot sustain the next level. That includes habits, that includes thought patterns, that includes emotional reactions. Anointed one. The way you respond now matters more than ever, because what is coming into your life will not just amplify your success, it will amplify your state of being. If your mind is scattered, your results will be scattered. If your emotions are unstable, your decisions will be unstable. If your attention is divided, your opportunities will fragment. That is why you are being called into focus at a level you have never experienced before. Not as restriction, but as authority. You are being trained to hold your energy instead of leaking it. To observe instead of reacting. To move with intention instead of impulse. And this is where many fall short, because discipline is not glamorous. It is quiet. It is the decision to not respond immediately when something triggers you. It is the choice to step back instead of stepping into unnecessary conflict. It is the ability to sit in stillness while others rush into chaos. And yet, this is the exact place where power is built. You are learning to regulate your inner world so that your outer world can respond accordingly. Romans chapter 12 verse 2 speaks about the renewing of the mind, but what most people do not realize is that renewal is not just spiritual language. It is practical transformation. It is the rewiring of how you think, how you perceive, how you interpret what happens around you. You are no longer reacting from old programming. You are responding from a new identity. That is why situations that once overwhelmed you now feel manageable. That is why your breathing has changed in moments of pressure. That is why you no longer panic the way you used to. This is not coincidence. This is evidence. You are stabilizing. And stabilization is what makes expansion safe. Because wealth, influence, and responsibility do not go to those who simply desire them. They go to those who can remain steady while holding them. You are being trained to remain steady, to think clearly when others are overwhelmed, to stay calm when others are reactive, to move intentionally when others are scattered. This is billionaire consciousness, not as a title, but as a state. And here is what will begin to happen next. Opportunities will start to appear in ways that do not match your previous expectations. They will not come with loud announcements. They will not always look impressive at first glance. In fact, some of them may look inconvenient. A conversation that interrupts your routine. A responsibility that stretches your comfort. A decision that requires you to trust yourself more than you ever have before. And this is where discernment becomes critical, because anxiety and alignment can feel similar if you are not grounded. Anxiety rushes you. Alignment steadies you. Anxiety demands immediate reaction. Alignment allows clear recognition. You will know the difference by how your body responds. When something is aligned, there is a calm certainty beneath the surface, even if the situation is unfamiliar. There is a sense of clarity that does not require external validation. That is the signal, and you must learn to trust it, because the Holy Spirit does not always speak through volume. It speaks through precision, through subtle direction, through moments that feel small but carry weight, and you have been trained to recognize it. Through silence, through isolation, through seasons where you had no choice but to listen deeper. That was not emptiness. That was preparation. Chosen one. Your life is shifting from effort to positioning. You are not chasing outcomes anymore. You are aligning with them, and when alignment is correct, things begin to move without force. Doors open without struggle. People respond differently to your presence. Ideas arrive with clarity instead of confusion. But this only happens when your internal state remains consistent. That is your responsibility now. To guard your mind, to regulate your emotions, to protect your focus. Because what is coming will not require you to become louder. It will require you to become more precise. And there is something else you need to be aware of. As you step deeper into this phase, distractions will increase. Not random distractions, targeted ones. Things that seem harmless but slowly pull your attention away from what matters. Old patterns trying to reintroduce themselves. Old conversations trying to pull you back into familiar thinking. Old versions of yourself attempting to resurface. This is the final test before acceleration. Not whether you can start something, but whether you can sustain alignment long enough for it to manifest. Because the moment you stabilize fully, the next phase does not delay, it activates. And what begins to unfold after that will require a level of composure and awareness that you are only now beginning to understand. What is about to unfold next will test something deeper than your ambition. It will test your composure. Because once alignment begins to produce results, there is a moment where everything starts to move faster than your old identity can process. And if your internal state is not anchored, you will either rush, overreact, or second-guess what has already been set in motion. Chosen one. This is why your preparation was not only about strength, it was about stability. There will be moments very soon where something shifts in your external world. It may come as an unexpected opportunity, a conversation that changes direction, or a door that opens without warning. And in that moment, your first instinct will try to come from your past. That instinct will want to rush. It will want to prove something. It will want to secure the outcome immediately. But you are not operating from that version anymore. You are being trained to respond from stillness. Psalm chapter 1 verse 3 describes a tree planted by streams of water yielding fruit in its season. That image is not about speed, it is about rootedness. A tree does not chase growth, it deepens its roots and the growth becomes inevitable. That is your position now. You're not chasing success. You are deepening your capacity so that success becomes natural. And this changes how you move. When others react quickly, you pause. When others feel urgency, you create space. When others look for validation, you rely on internal clarity. This is the shift. Because the next level of your life will not be built through reaction. It will be built through intentional response. There is a level of calm you are entering that will confuse people around you. They will expect you to move the way they move. They will expect you to react the way they react. But your rhythm has changed. You are no longer operating from pressure. You are operating from control. And control does not mean forcing outcomes. It means regulating your internal state so that nothing external can destabilize you. That is power. You will begin to notice that situations that once triggered you now feel distant. Conversations that would have pulled you into emotion no longer have the same effect. You are observing more than reacting. This is not detachment in a negative sense. This is elevation, because when you are no longer emotionally entangled in every situation, you can see clearly. You can make decisions without distortion. You can recognize what is aligned and what is not without confusion. This clarity is what allows you to move strategically, and strategy is what separates temporary success from lasting influence. Anointed One. Your billionaire era is not being built on sudden moments. It is being built on consistent regulation. Every time you choose not to react impulsively, you strengthen your foundation. Every time you pause instead of rushing, you increase your capacity. Every time you stay focused instead of getting distracted, you align yourself further. These moments may seem small, but they are not. They are the structure. Because when the external results begin to multiply, it will not be your effort that sustains them. It will be your stability. And stability is what you are developing now. There is also something you need to recognize about the opportunities that are coming. They will not always feel comfortable. In fact, many of them will stretch you. They will require you to step into roles you have never fully seen yourself in before. They will require you to trust your own judgment without seeking constant reassurance. They will require you to make decisions that feel unfamiliar. This is not because you are unprepared. It is because you are expanding. Growth at this level does not feel like confidence at first. It feels like responsibility. And responsibility can feel heavy if you are not grounded. That is why your breath, your posture, your awareness, all of it matters now more than ever. You are learning to carry pressure without collapsing under it. You are learning to stay steady even when things accelerate. You are learning to hold more without losing your center. This is the difference. Most people collapse when things begin to expand because they were never trained to regulate themselves at that level. But you were. Through every season where you had to endure uncertainty, you were building this exact capacity. Through every moment where you had to stay calm without knowing the outcome, you were strengthening this exact skill. Through every time you had to rely on yourself without external support, you were preparing for this exact phase. Nothing was wasted. And now it is all being used. There will also be moments where things appear smaller than you expected. Opportunities that do not look like breakthroughs but like simple steps. Do not overlook them, because alignment rarely arrives as something overwhelming. It arrives as something precise. A conversation that leads to another connection, a decision that opens a new direction, a small shift that creates a larger outcome. This is how it builds, quietly, strategically, without unnecessary attention, and this is important because you are not being called to announce your progress. You are being called to protect it. There is power in moving without broadcasting. There is strength in building without external validation. There is authority in knowing what you are doing without needing others to confirm it. This is the discipline of this phase. To move with intention instead of noise. To build with focus instead of distraction. To trust your process without explaining it to those who cannot understand it. And there will be people who do not understand. Not because they are against you, but because they are not aligned with your frequency. You cannot expect those who are still operating from survival to understand what it means to operate from expansion. That is why your circle is shifting. That is why certain connections feel distant. That is why you feel more selective with your energy. This is not isolation. This is refinement. And refinement is necessary before manifestation. Because once things begin to accelerate fully, you will not have time to filter distractions the way you can now. You are being trained to do it before that moment arrives. And that moment is closer than you think. because what is forming now internally is about to reflect externally in a way that cannot be reversed. But before that happens, there is one more layer you must master. Not your actions, not your decisions, but your ability to remain grounded when everything around you begins to change. The moment everything begins to shift externally is the moment many people lose what they have been preparing for, not because they are unworthy, but because they are unanchored. And this is the layer you are now stepping into: the ability to remain grounded. When movement increases, when opportunities multiply, when attention begins to shift toward you in ways you have not experienced before. Chosen. One expansion is not just about receiving more, it is about holding more without losing yourself in the process. There is a quiet strength that is being formed inside you, one that does not react to every change, one that does not become unstable when things accelerate. This is not something you can fake, and it is not something you can rush. It is developed through awareness, through discipline, and through a deep understanding of who you are becoming. You will notice that as things begin to align, there will also be pressure that comes with it. Not the same kind of pressure you experienced before, but a different kind, one that tests your composure rather than your endurance. Before, you were tested on whether you could survive. Now you are being tested on whether you can remain steady while expanding. These are two completely different levels. Survival requires resistance. Expansion requires regulation, and regulation is what will determine how far you can go. Because what is coming into your life will not just respond to your actions, it will respond to your state. If your state remains calm, clear, and focused, everything around you will organize accordingly. If your state becomes reactive, scattered, or overwhelmed, you will feel friction even in moments that were meant to flow. This is why your body has been changing. Your breathing has been slowing. Your reactions have been softening. Your awareness has been sharpening. These are not random shifts. This is your system learning how to operate at a higher level without collapsing under it. There is a reason you have been pulled into stillness more often, a reason you have felt the need to step back, to observe, to disconnect from noise. It was not to remove you from life, it was to recalibrate you for it, because the level you are stepping into does not tolerate constant distraction. It does not function under scattered attention. It requires presence. It requires clarity. It requires a level of internal order that most people never develop. Anointed One, you are learning to move from a place of internal authority. Not needing immediate answers, not needing constant reassurance, not needing external confirmation before making a decision. This is what sovereignty feels like. It is quiet, but it is powerful, and it is what allows you to move without hesitation when the moment arrives. Because there will be moments very soon where hesitation will cost more than action. Opportunities that require you to decide quickly, not from pressure, but from clarity. And if your internal state is stable, you will recognize them without confusion. You will know when to move, when to wait, and when to let something pass without forcing it. There's also something else that will begin to surface in this phase. Old doubts may attempt to return, not as strong as before, but in subtle ways. Small thoughts that question whether you are ready, whether this is real, whether you can actually hold what is coming. This is not failure. This is exposure. The final remnants of your old identity being brought to the surface so they can be released. You do not fight these thoughts with force. You observe them without attachment. You let them pass without giving them authority, because the truth is your identity has already shifted. And once identity shifts, reality has no choice but to follow. Isaiah chapter 60 verse 1 says, "Arise and shine, for your light has come, and the glory of the Lord rises upon you." That rising is not just external, it begins within. It begins in the way you carry yourself, the way you think, the way you respond to what happens around you. You're not stepping into something new as a different person. You're stepping into what has already been established inside you. That is why it feels familiar, even when it is new. That is why there is a sense of recognition instead of confusion. Because this was never outside of you. It was always being built within you. And as this continues, you will begin to see a pattern. Things will not force their way into your life. They will align. You will not have to chase what is meant for you. You will recognize it. And recognition is faster than pursuit. It saves energy. It preserves clarity. It allows you to move with precision instead of urgency. This is the difference between those who build something lasting and those who burn out trying to maintain something unstable. You are not here to maintain chaos. You are here to build structure. And structure requires consistency, not intensity. There will also be a shift in how people respond to you. Not everyone will understand it, but they will feel it. Your presence will carry something different, something more grounded, more clear, more intentional. Some will be drawn to it. Others may feel uncomfortable around it. This is natural, because when your internal state changes, your external interactions change as well. You are no longer matching the same frequency as before, and that creates separation. Not rejection, but distinction. And distinction is necessary for what you are stepping into. You are not here to blend in. You are here to stand in alignment. And alignment will always separate you from what is not meant to continue with you. This is not loss. This is positioning. Every shift, every change, every adjustment you are experiencing is part of a larger movement that is already unfolding. You may not see the full picture yet, but you can feel the direction. And that is enough, because what is required from you right now is not full understanding. It is consistency. Stay steady in your habits. Stay intentional with your focus. Stay aware of your internal state, because the more consistent you become, the more stable your foundation will be. And the more stable your foundation, the faster things can build without collapsing. This is the phase where everything begins to lock into place. Not all at once, but piece by piece in a way that cannot be undone. And as this continues, there will come a moment where the shift is no longer subtle, a moment where what has been forming internally begins to show itself externally in a way that is undeniable. Not loud, not chaotic, but clear. And when that moment arrives, the only question that will matter is not whether you are ready to receive it, but whether you are ready to sustain it. And if this message has been strengthening you, guiding you, or speaking directly into your season, you can support this space through the link in the description. Not as obligation, but as alignment, as a way of helping this message continue reaching those who are meant to hear it. Sustaining what arrives will require a version of you that no longer negotiates with distraction, and this is where the real separation happens, not between you and others, but between you and your former self. Because the greatest threat to what is being built is not external opposition. It is internal fragmentation. It is the divided mind, the scattered focus, the emotional leakage that slowly drains your capacity without you even realizing it. Chosen one. This is why your awareness has been sharpening. You are beginning to notice how much energy is lost in unnecessary thinking, in revisiting old conversations, in comparing, in reacting to things that no longer deserve your attention. These are not small habits. They're silent leaks, and what you are stepping into cannot coexist with leakage. There is a level of coherence that wealth requires. not just financial wealth, but influence, responsibility, and authority. Coherence means your thoughts, your emotions, your actions, and your direction are all aligned. There is no internal conflict pulling you in different directions. And this is not something that happens automatically. It is something you cultivate intentionally. Every time you bring your attention back to the present, you strengthen it. Every time you choose clarity over distraction, you reinforce it. Every time you regulate your response instead of reacting impulsively, you stabilize it. This is how your internal system becomes strong enough to hold what is coming. And this is also why your body has been asking for different things: better rest, more stillness, less noise, more intentional movement. You are not imagining this. Your body is part of the preparation. It is being trained to carry a higher level of energy without burning out. Because burnout is not caused by doing too much. It is caused by doing too much without alignment. And alignment is what you are learning now. To move when it is time to move, to rest when it is time to rest, to speak when it is necessary, and to remain silent when it is not. Anointed One. Silence is becoming one of your greatest tools, not the kind of silence that comes from withdrawal, but the kind that comes from control. The ability to hold your thoughts without expressing them immediately. The ability to observe without needing to react. The ability to build without announcing every step. This is where your power deepens. Because not everything that is growing needs to be seen in its early stages. Some things must be protected until they are strong enough to stand on their own. You will begin to notice that your desire to speak less and observe more is increasing. That is not hesitation. That is discernment. You are learning that not every moment requires your input and not every opportunity requires your immediate action. Some things are meant to pass. Some doors are meant to remain closed. And your ability to recognize the difference is what will keep you aligned. There is also a shift happening in how you view time. You are no longer in a rush the way you used to be. You understand that what is being built is not temporary, it is structured. And structure takes time, not because it is slow, but because it is precise. You are no longer trying to force outcomes. You are allowing them to align. And this patience is not passive. It is active trust. It is the understanding that what is meant for you will not miss you, and what misses you was never meant to stay. Psalm chapter 24 verse 1 reminds us that the earth is the Lord's and everything in it. That means ownership begins long before possession. It begins in perception, in how you see yourself, how you see opportunity, how you see your role in what is being given to you. You are no longer viewing wealth as something to chase. You are beginning to see it as something to steward, something that flows through you, not something you cling to for identity. And this shift alone changes everything. Because when you no longer need wealth to define you, you become capable of managing it without being controlled by it. You may also notice that your emotional reactions are becoming more stable. Situations that would have once caused stress now feel manageable, not because life has become easier, but because you have become more regulated. Your breath stays steady, your mind stays clear. Your decisions are no longer driven by urgency. This is not coincidence. This is conditioning. You are being conditioned to operate above volatility. And volatility is what causes most people to lose what they gain. They rise quickly, but they cannot sustain it because their internal state cannot hold the pressure. But you are different. You have been trained in pressure. You have learned how to stay calm in uncertainty. You have learned how to think clearly when things are unclear. And now, instead of that training being used for survival, it is being used for expansion. The same strength that kept you going in difficult seasons is now the strength that will allow you to build something lasting. There will be moments where things move faster than you expect, where multiple opportunities appear at once, where decisions need to be made with clarity and confidence. In those moments, your ability to stay centered will determine everything. Not your intelligence, not your resources, not your external support, but your internal stability. Because when you are stable, you can choose correctly. When you are grounded, you can move precisely. When you are clear, you can recognize what is aligned and what is not without hesitation. And this is why you are being reminded again to protect your field. Your environment matters. What you consume matters. The conversations you engage in matter. Because all of these things influence your internal state. And your internal state is what shapes your external reality. You cannot allow negativity, distraction, or unnecessary noise to take up space in your mind anymore. Not because you are trying to avoid life, but because you are preparing to lead within it. Chosen one. What is unfolding is not just about success, it is about authority. The authority to think clearly. The authority to move intentionally. The authority to remain grounded regardless of what happens around you. And this authority is what makes everything else possible. Because once you have it, you are no longer dependent on circumstances to determine your direction. You become the one who sets the direction. And as this continues to deepen, there will come a point where you realize something fully, that you are no longer preparing for your billionaire era. You are already operating within it. The only difference now is that what has been internal is about to become visible. And when that transition happens, it will not feel like something new. It will feel like something that was always yours, finally taking form. But before that becomes fully clear, there is one final shift that must take place. Not in your actions, not in your habits, but in your identity. The shift in identity is not something you force, it is something you accept. And for many, this is the most difficult part, not because it is complicated, but because it requires you to release the version of yourself you have known for so long. Chosen one. You are not stepping into something unfamiliar. You are stepping into what has been forming within you all along. But in order to fully embody it, you must stop relating to yourself as who you were and begin operating as who you have become. There is a quiet moment where this realization settles in. It does not come with noise, it does not come with external validation. It comes as a steady recognition that you no longer think the same, you no longer respond the same, and you no longer see yourself the same way. That is the turning point. Not when circumstances change, but when perception changes. Because once perception shifts, behavior follows, and once behavior changes, results cannot remain the same. You may have already felt it in subtle ways. The way you carry yourself is different. The way you make decisions is more grounded. The need to explain yourself has decreased. The desire to prove something to others has faded. This is not detachment from life. It is alignment with purpose. You are no longer moving to be seen. You are moving because you know. And knowing creates a different level of confidence, one that is not loud, but undeniable. Anointed One identity is the foundation of everything that follows. Not the identity you project, but the one you embody when no one is watching. That is the version of you that determines your consistency, your discipline, your decisions in moments of pressure. And this is why your transformation had to be internal first. Because anything built on external validation can collapse when that validation disappears. But what is built internally remains steady regardless of circumstances. Luke chapter 16 verse 10 speaks about being faithful in small things before being entrusted with much. Most interpret that as external responsibility, but there is a deeper layer. It is about internal trust. Can you trust your own thoughts when pressure rises? Can you trust your own decisions when there is no immediate confirmation? Can you trust your own direction when others do not understand it? You have been learning this through every season you walked through. Every time you had to rely on your own discernment, every time you had to move without support, every time you had to stand without validation. That was not isolation. That was training in self-trust. And now that trust is becoming natural, you're no longer second-guessing yourself the way you used to. You're no longer looking outside for permission to move forward. You're beginning to recognize that the clarity you need is already within you. That is authority. And authority is what allows you to operate without hesitation when the moment requires action. There is also a shift in how you relate to uncertainty. It no longer feels threatening the way it once did. Instead, it feels like space. Space where something can form, where something can align, where something can reveal itself at the right time. This is a completely different relationship with the unknown. It is no longer something you fear. It is something you allow. Because you understand that not everything needs to be controlled for it to work in your favor. This is where many people struggle. They try to control every outcome, every detail, every step, and in doing so, they create tension that disrupts alignment. But you are learning to release control while maintaining direction, to stay focused on where you are going without forcing how it happens. This balance is what creates flow. And flow is what allows things to unfold with precision rather than resistance. Ephesians chapter 3 verse 20 speaks about receiving beyond what you ask or think. That is not just about abundance. It is about expansion beyond your current perception. It means that what is coming into your life will exceed the limits of how you previously understood what was possible. And this is why your identity had to expand first. Because if your perception remained small, you would not recognize or accept what is being made available to you. You are no longer thinking in terms of limitation. You are beginning to think in terms of possibility, structure, and long-term vision. This is a different way of operating. It is not reactive. It is intentional. It is not focused on immediate results. It is focused on building something that sustains over time. And this is what separates those who temporarily rise from those who create lasting influence. You may also notice that your imagination is changing, not in a scattered way, but in a focused way. Ideas are becoming clearer. Vision is becoming more structured. What once felt like distant thoughts now feels like something you can actually move toward. This is not coincidence. This is your mind aligning with what has already been prepared for you. Because imagination is not just creativity, it is a gateway to possibility. And as your imagination expands, so does your capacity to receive. But with this expansion comes responsibility. Not pressure, but awareness. Awareness of how you think, how you speak, how you act. Because everything you do now carries more weight than before. Not in a heavy way, but in an impactful way. Your decisions create ripple effects. Your focus directs outcomes. Your consistency builds momentum. And momentum, once established, accelerates quickly. This is why restraint becomes important. Not every thought needs to be spoken. Not every idea needs to be shared immediately. Not every move needs to be visible. There is power in building quietly, in moving strategically, in allowing things to develop fully before presenting them. This is not secrecy. It is wisdom. It is understanding that early exposure can weaken something that is still forming. You are stepping into a level where precision matters more than speed, where clarity matters more than intensity, where consistency matters more than bursts of effort. This is not how most people operate, and that is why most people do not sustain what they build. But you're not operating at that level anymore. You're moving differently. And as this identity continues to stabilize, there will come a point where everything feels aligned. Not perfect, but aligned. Where your thoughts, your actions, and your direction all move together without conflict. That is the moment where manifestation becomes natural. Not forced, not chased, but allowed. Because everything within you is already in agreement with where you are going. And when that happens, the final stage does not require effort. It requires trust. A trust at this level is no longer passive. It is active alignment with what you already know is unfolding. It is the decision to move forward without needing constant reassurance, to remain steady even when the full picture is not visible yet. Chosen. 1. This is the final transition. Not from lack to abundance, but from uncertainty to certainty within yourself. Because once that certainty locks in, everything else follows naturally. You are not waiting for proof anymore. You are becoming the proof. And this is what shifts everything. When you no longer require external confirmation to believe in what is happening, you begin to operate from a place that is unshakable. Your actions become more intentional. Your focus becomes sharper. Your presence becomes stronger. And people will begin to feel it, even if they cannot explain it. There is a quiet authority that is settling into you now. It is not loud. It does not seek attention. But it is undeniable. It shows in the way you speak, the way you move, the way you make decisions. You are no longer reacting to life. You are directing it. And this is what it means to step fully into your billionaire era, not as a concept, but as a state of being. This is where many misunderstand the process. They think wealth appears and then identity follows. But you now understand that identity comes first. The internal structure, the clarity, the discipline, the alignment, all of it forms before anything visible changes. And by the time the external results appear, you are already prepared to hold them. That is why your journey took the path it did. That is why it was not rushed. Because what is built slowly is built to last. You are no longer trying to escape where you came from. You are using everything you experienced as structure for where you are going. Every moment of pressure, every season of uncertainty, every challenge that forced you to grow it, all contributed to this version of you. Nothing was wasted, and now it is all aligned toward a single direction. You will begin to notice that things no longer feel random. There is a sense of order in what is happening. Even challenges will feel different. They will not feel like setbacks. They will feel like adjustments. Small corrections that keep you aligned rather than distractions that pull you away. This is how you know you have shifted. When even difficulty serves your direction instead of disrupting it. Psalm chapter 23 verse 1 says, "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want." That is not just about provision, it is about guidance, it is about being led in a way where nothing essential is missing, and that is the space you are stepping into. A space where what you need arrives when it is needed, where direction becomes clear when it is time to move, where support appears in alignment with your path. You are not forcing your way forward. You are being guided forward. And there is a difference. Forcing creates resistance. Guidance creates flow, and flow is what allows things to build naturally without strain, without unnecessary struggle. Anointed One, you are also stepping into a level of responsibility that requires awareness. Not pressure, but awareness. Awareness that what you carry now has influence, that your decisions impact more than just you, that your presence creates shifts in the environments you enter. This is not something to fear, it is something to honor, because it means you are no longer operating on a small scale. And with that comes a new level of discipline, Not forced discipline, but chosen discipline. The kind that comes from understanding the value of what you are building. You no longer need to push yourself the way you used to. You move with intention because you see clearly where you are going, and clarity removes the need for force. There will be moments where you reflect on how far you have come, and it may not always be visible in external ways yet, but internally the difference is undeniable. You think differently, you feel differently, you respond differently. That is the real shift. Because once the internal change is complete, the external change is inevitable. You are no longer hoping for your billionaire era to begin. You are living in it. Every decision you make, every moment you choose, focus over distraction, every time you remain steady instead of reacting, you are reinforcing that reality. It is no longer something in the future, it is your present state. And as you continue to move in this way, there will come a point where everything aligns fully. Not in a way that feels overwhelming, but in a way that feels natural. Where what you once saw as distant becomes part of your everyday life. Where what once felt impossible becomes normal. That is the moment where you realize that nothing about this was sudden. It was all built step by step, decision by decision, alignment by alignment. You were never behind. You were being prepared, and now that preparation is complete. The only thing left is continuation. Staying steady, staying focused, staying aligned with what you already know is true. Chosen one, your billionaire era has not just begun, it has been established. And from this point forward, everything you do either strengthens it or distracts from it. And you already know which path you are choosing. Chosen one. What has been spoken over you is not temporary. It is a confirmation of what has already been set in motion beyond what your eyes can fully see. This is your Kairos moment, a divine timing that cannot be delayed or denied, only recognized and received. Anointed one. You may not see everything shifting yet, but feel the quiet order forming beneath the surface. Doors are aligning, people are repositioning, opportunities are being arranged with precision that requires no force from you. Jeremiah chapter 29 verse 11 reminds you that these plans were written long before this moment, and nothing about what is unfolding is accidental. So walk in peace, not pressure. Breathe with certainty, not doubt. Move with intention, not urgency. What is yours will meet you in alignment, not in chaos. If this message resonates in your spirit, take a moment and write Amen or 777 in the comments as a declaration that you receive what has already begun. Stay connected and subscribe so you do not miss what is being released next for your journey. And if you feel led, you can support this space through a small donation to help these messages continue reaching those who need them. Chosen one, the era has begun. Walk like it, decide like it, and trust that everything around you is already responding.